So today I will make minestrone soup, my variation of minestrone soup. So we will start off by using some olive oil on the base of your pot. This should serve, I think, roughly 8 servings. Lots of olive oil. Pop your pot on a medium heat. And in there we want to put, this is onions that I chopped the other day. So we are looking for, this holds I think roughly a kilo. So a cup of onion. So a good couple of hands. This is the good thing about pre-chopping your onions and just putting them in. I'm going to put more than that in. Put that much. Then some celery, again, stuff that I pre-chopped earlier. So about a cup of chopped celery. Chop it into wee bits. That pops in. Carrot, same again, about a cup. Cup of diced and chopped carrots. And we will let that mix for a wee bit before we add garlic. Because I don't think you really want to overcook garlic. But obviously your carrots need a wee while. So once your carrots and celery have been sauteing for roughly 5 minutes, we can add in our chopped garlic. I've just put another wee bit of olive oil in that, just to help preserve it. So we'll just pop that. That was about 4 or 5 cloves of garlic. And we'll just saute that down for another 5 minutes. So after a good 10 minutes of sauteing these, I am going to chop up this bag, a whole bag. So that is, doesn't it tell me how much? 220 grams of green beans. So if any of you don't know what a green bean looks like, this is a green bean. Nice and crunchy. So we will top and tail, take off this wee bit. So top and tail these. So all the wee bits will go into my compost. And then chop them into perhaps one inch sized pieces, just like that. So that is them. They are ready to go in to the pot as well. And all over the floor, obviously. When you grow food, you learn not to waste food. A wee bit of duck never hurt anybody. I'm sure somebody will have something to say about that. So we just mix that around, fantastic. And then I am going to add in homegrown tomatoes. And let that mix. Couple of stock cubes. So it's 2 stock cubes. That tomatoes, I mean, you would probably, if you were making a big pot of this and you were buying tins of tomatoes, I would probably put 2 tins of tomatoes in. And that jar, that size of jar, was probably the equivalent to two tins. And then after that we will add probably the beans next. So this is a mixture of kidney beans and cannellini beans. I genuinely am not fussy. This is, when it comes to cooking, if I don't have the specific beans to make whatever it is I want, I mean, I don't feel like there is a huge amount of taste difference between the beans. So if I didn't have one, I would just add a different one in. So today I have kidney beans and cannellini beans, and this is just 250 grams of each soaked overnight, because I buy dried beans. So I'm just going to drain the water that's left, and then I will add these. So when you soak the beans, depending on which container you use, if it's big enough, and depending on how much attention you pay, the beans obviously swell to at least twice the size of the dried size. So depending on which container you have used, you might need to manipulate them to get them out. So that is them. I've turned the heat up there because that'll have went cold now. So that's quite a lot of mix in there. What I might do is add one more stock cube, so that will be 3 stock cubes that I will have put into this mix, because that's quite a lot of stuff. So also with minestrone, what I find that when I make it and we all have our serving that night, when it's put into containers to put into my freezer after that, by the time it then comes back out, there is barely any liquid left. So I usually always add more liquid into that. So before I put my boiling water in, I will just let this come up to temperature. So this is how much ingredients is in there. As you can see, that's quite a lot of ingredients. So hence me adding an extra stock cube, because I will then fill this up to at least halfway, but maybe a wee bit more, because like I said, this will, the beans will absorb quite a lot of that stock. So that's the beans up to temperature. I'm just going to add a kettle full of water. So in this kettle there is 1.7 litres at its maximum. So that has taken this pot to just about halfway. Well, just over halfway, I mean. So I will probably add another 4 cups on my kettle, is what that says. I have a funny feeling that it is not a cup as in a measurement cup, which is 250 grams. I have a feeling that it is a teacup, which is only about 200 mils. So that is 8, that's about another 8, so that'll take it up to about 2.5 litres of water I will have put into my pot. So into this I will add some Italian herbs. So I've just got basil and oregano here, and I just measure into my hand. These are herbs that I grew in my polytunnel last year. So just so you can see, I would say that that's probably roughly a tablespoon, roughly. So pop that in. Same with the oregano, grew this as well. This oregano is a great herb to grow. It grows easily, far more in abundance than the basil, I find. And it grows back, after you cut it, it grows back and grows back. So that's about another tablespoon. I am a fan of the less dishes the better, hence measuring in my hand. I mean, really, again, for me, I don't believe that there is a huge difference in taste between, you know, a couple of mils or grams over the actual measurement. So measure with your hand, measure with an implement. I think it's all one. So we'll just let that boil away. I will probably leave this to simmer for about at least 40-45 minutes until the beans, when you pick a bean out, that it squashes between your fingers easily, not hard. So that'll take about 40-45 minutes. So into your pot you want to add some salt and pepper to taste. That is only just starting to come to the boil. So what we will do in the meantime is cook some pasta separately. So there are 4 people in my family. We usually go by the rule of thumb that 100 grams of pasta is a portion per person. So when it comes to soup, because whether this is how everybody else does it, I don't know, but what we do is we cook our pasta and then add it to our bowl of soup rather than add it to the pot of soup, because pasta just disintegrates. So as a rule of thumb, a normal portion is 100 grams per person in this household. So we normally go for half of that per person, so roughly 200 grams, because it doubles in size, and remembering that this is soup and we've got loads of veggies in that, so it'll go in a soup bowl. So we've got 200 grams for 4 people in that pot, and roughly add twice as much water as your pasta in the pot. So basically make sure that it is properly covered with room for the pasta to grow. And we will put that lid on. It's bubbling away. So knowing when pasta is ready, if you use common sense and you have ever eaten pasta before, you will know that when you eat it, it is soft. So pasta on the back of the packet, so you know, I am using fusilli because that's what I had in my drawer. And this month we are practicing using what is in our cupboards, in our freezers, in our stores, so that we are not spending a lot of money. So I know that this is not what you traditionally make minestrone with, but it is what I have and it's what I'm using. And again, our favourite pasta is the wee shells. Not sure what it's called, but we call it Cannellini Beans, just because it's a wee bit fun, isn't it? So that's our favourite. But this is fusilli, and we're going to use that. And that's bubbling away. So where beans are concerned, low and slow is the temperature. So we will turn that down to about halfway and just let it properly simmer away for the rest of the time, now that that's boiling. Pasta, back to the pasta point. So if you've got common sense, you'll know that when you eat pasta, it is soft. On the back of the packet it says to cook it, it takes between 7 and 9 minutes. Do not cook pasta on a low heat because it will disintegrate. Cook it on a high heat. The pot, if you keep the lid on the pot to conserve energy, if we're talking about budgets, if you keep the pot on, you can have your ring at a lower temperature because the lid will keep the heat in and keep the pot boiling. If you open the lid, however, the heat will escape and therefore you will need more heat. So I believe that each cooker is different time-wise, and also each person has their own preferences when it comes to how they like their food. Mostly I don't time things, however I have become a bit forgetful, so timers come in handy for me because I forget half the time that I've got things on cooking, or my children are asking me questions and I forget what I'm doing and time just passes just like that. So timers are a good wee nudge, and that's my pasta pot boiling. So it doesn't take very long for that to come up to temperature. Every now and again I just give it a wee stir to stop it sticking. So when you put pasta in the pot, I usually give it a good mix because it like solidifies all together. So if you give it a good mix, a wee bit of salt in the pot, it just helps to keep it, and you just keep stirring it to begin with. It just helps to keep the pasta separate. So you will know yourself that when you put your fork or your stirring utensil into your pot, that when you have just put your pasta in the pot, you will feel that that is hard because it's not cooked yet. So as time goes on, it will get softer and softer. So obviously anything under 10 minutes, or roughly 10 minutes, is plenty enough. And then what we will do is drain that, reserving a little bit of the pasta water in the bottom. And because I'm just cooking this today, serving it tonight, I will just put my pasta in this tub and put a wee bit of olive oil in it, so a wee bit of, well, just pepper. Give it a wee mix, let it cool, and then put it in the fridge. And then when we reheat our soup for tonight, just by putting the pasta into the bowl of soup, because your soup will be piping hot once you reheat it, when you put the pasta, the cold pasta, back into your bowl, the soup itself will just warm it up to the perfect temperature. So there's no need to reheat it. So that's what we will do with that. So we'll keep an eye on this, and it'll just take about 10 minutes, and then I'll show you how I prepare that for the tub when it's ready. So I think my pasta is about ready. If you are unsure whether it's ready or not, you can take it out and give it a wee shake, and you'll see it's boingy boingy. You can also, if you want, if it's not too hot, bite a bit. It's perfect. So we'll turn that off, and we will drain this out. So into our tub we will go, and there is a small amount of liquid left in the bottom. I'll just let you see that. You can see that wee small bit of liquid left in the bottom. That is because pasta continues to swell after it's ready, so we'll just leave it sitting in there. Wee bit of olive oil and a wee bit of pepper. Told you I am absolutely, obsessed, absolutely obsessed with pepper. This is not a great grinder, doesn't grind as much as I would like it to, so it may seem like I'm putting a lot more than I am in it, although maybe it's a slow grinder because that's what normal people have. So I will just put this to the side to cool, and then use that later. So we've still got about 30 minutes left for our beans so far. And that is just in a nice simmer. Again, good trick to conserve energy is keep your pot lid on. This is the beans, and as you can see, if we squash those, they are clearly cooked. Clearly cooked. Okay. So, final stir. Turn that off, and that will just stay on the cooker until it is dinner time. So there you have it. Beautiful minestrone soup for a good meal Now that's a good meal. That's loads of veggies, a wee drop pasta, and I can guarantee you, I mean, one of my girls is not a great eater at dinner time, but so she'll definitely be full with this meal. However, my other daughter loves a lot, and this will fill her as well. One of these bowls, that's quite a big bowl. So it's enough for dinner time.